Welcome everybody, it's lovely to have you here. So my name is Michelle Prendergast, I'm the owner and manager of this farm, so Teouma Valley Farms. We started not quite 8 years ago now. It doesn't feel that long, feels like only a few years. So we started from scratch when we first came here, so we're just leasing this ground. We didn't have the funds to buy ground when we first set up, so but it pretty much just looks like over there when we first moved in. It was all wild manioc and cane grass and just a little few scrubby trees. So we were fortunate enough to be able to get that cleared and ploughed up. To begin with, we just started growing some product in the ground just to try and get a bit of cash flow. But obviously the biggest challenge here in Vanuatu, especially in the off season, which is sort of December through to June, is it rains a lot, and so it's very difficult to farm outside in the rain. So it's a lot less consistent. But yeah, we started small, and then over about an 18-month period, we sort of did the research, worked out what equipment we wanted, organised the purchase, organised for it to be delivered. So the greenhouses came from China. A lot of the rest of all the gullies came from Australia. And then, yeah, so it took about 18 months to build the first stage, which was the 5 greenhouses, the nursery and this shed here. We have had lots and lots of challenges in the years following. This is probably, in all honesty, the first year where we've seen a proper level of demand and a proper level of sales. Obviously the first couple of years we were breaking into the market. There was a couple of other competitors at that stage, and so we started out small and have slowly built the customer base. And but yeah, we had a couple of really big floods the first year we were here, and all of this went underwater, and the tanks filled up with mud and water and floated the tank out of the ground and broke all our pipes. And so that was a disaster. We've had a couple of cyclones come through which have done small damage, but we had a very, very big cyclone 3 years ago with Cyclone Judy and Cyclone Kevin. They had 2 cyclones in 3 days. So one hit on Wednesday as a Category 4, and it literally bent these greenhouses in half. You'll see they've all been patched up. So all of the posts were laying like this, and all the roofs had literally bent in half and capsized down into almost to the ground. So it took about a year to rebuild, and we lost probably a month or so of production from that. That was a pretty hard hit, and we received no assistance from anybody to rebuild or to recover from that, which was difficult. Probably more emotionally difficult than, I mean, obviously it was a financial hit, but it was hard to not have any support from the government. As the biggest commercial vegetable producer in Vanuatu, it was pretty hard. So we also had COVID. So we had 3 years where basically everything ground to a halt. About half the population left, and we were left with just locals and a few long-term expats. So we were lucky. I mean, we were glad we weren't in tourism, whose businesses shut down altogether overnight. We were able to continue running. I was able to keep all of my staff on, but we were basically just covering costs for those 3 years because we were in complete lockdown here. So that was pretty challenging too. When we started with 3 houses of lettuce and 2 houses of tomatoes, which we initially planted in the ground. We wanted to do a couple of seasons in the ground to create the cash flow, to then be able to invest in the hydroponic infrastructure. That was always our long-term plan. Unfortunately, there is a naturally occurring disease in this valley called bacterial wilt, which kills tomatoes really quickly and very thoroughly. So we battled with that for a little while. We eventually worked out what it was. So then we tried to move to a hydroponic system, which we built very on the cheap and nasty, but it did work. That was pretty good for a while, but then we discovered that because the disease is in the ground, it's also in the groundwater. So we had the problem come again. We installed a very expensive filtration system and UV treatment to try and fix that problem. It worked really well for about 6 months, and then one of the staff forgot to backflush, and the bacteria got back in the system, and then once it's in the system you can't do anything about it. It's untreatable. So after a couple of years of battling with that, we gave up and we tried some capsicums for a little while, and then that was the end of COVID. We realised very quickly that once everyone came back, that we wouldn't be able to keep up with demand with the 3 houses of lettuce that we have. So we pulled all of that out and expanded to the 5 houses of lettuce. That has seen us through quite well in the last couple of years. We've been quite proud of ourselves that we'd finally reached our goal of meeting the demand, full demand for Port Vila for lettuce. We hadn't yet achieved that goal for herbs, but for lettuce we had. But then this year, all of a sudden we also had air Vanuatu collapse. That really affected us more than we realised in hindsight, because this year, now that we have lots of different airlines coming into the country and we have lots of tourists, the demand this year has blown us out of the water. We cannot keep up with the supply we have. We had built 2 new greenhouses down the bottom there in the last 12 months, 2 years. That was supposed to be for herbs, but we pulled the herbs out and replaced it with lettuce, so we still can't keep up. So now I had built these greenhouses with the intention to grow more herbs in the ground, not wanting to invest too much money. We've had a lot of hits. Earthquake last year also really affected our sales. We didn't have any tourists coming. So, but now we've realised that we just simply need more room for lettuce. So my plan is actually to, in the next few months before October, we're planning to have 3 more houses set up with hydroponic gullies, so the NFT system, which should give us about another 2,000 lettuce a week to sell, 2,000 packets of lettuce a week. I'm still not sure that's going to be enough, to be honest, through our really busy times, but I think that's enough for now. I'm a bit nervous about spending money after all of the disasters we've had. I'm feeling a little bit shy on my future investments at the moment, but it's one of those things we have to, you have to keep investing and you have to keep growing if you want to maintain the market. At the moment, we're the sole supplier to Port Vila for about 6 or 7 months of the year. So that's sort of the off season here, so from December through to about June, you won't see lettuce anywhere in the markets or there's no one else commercially growing it. So we're it, so we're fairly important to the resorts and restaurants especially, but also just the locals who like to eat salad over summer. We would like to expand back into tomatoes and capsicums again, but it would require us to buy another farm in another location because we just simply can't grow them here. But that's also a very big and intimidating exercise, so I haven't done that yet. So we'll focus for now on just continuing to expand on the leafy greens, so the herbs and the lettuce. The herbs, we cannot keep up with demand for that either, so we're just trying to expand any way we can with minimal investment. So yeah. What else can I tell you? So we have normally between 13 and 15 staff depending on the time of year. This year we have a few extras. We've got about 18 I think at the moment. I think we're growing, so it's very busy. Harvest especially obviously in the mornings takes a lot of manpower, especially the herbs. They're quite time consuming to pick. So the system here is, so we use the NFT system. So basically we get water from a well down close up to the river. The river's just down the front there. It's a shallow well. We tried to drill a bore, but the water quality wasn't appropriate, so we tried to go a bit more shallow. It's been okay. We have very high iron, which is not so much of an issue for the lettuce, but it was a bit of an issue for the tomatoes and capsicums, just that it blocked all the drippers and it was a bit of a pain. So the water comes up. We have tanks. Because this is very flat here, it's not an ideal hydroponic location, that there's no slope. So we have the tanks are underneath the ground. She says it's also an issue because we have lots of groundwater. The control system is inside. That monitors the fertiliser, so it monitors the pH and the EC of the water, and that determines how much fertiliser is in the water. And the idea is that we keep it the same all the time, that it never changes. The lettuce is quite easy, and the herbs, once you get the recipe right, it's just about sticking to that recipe and not making sure it doesn't change. So the lettuce just wants the same conditions all the time. Obviously, in summer, it's much more difficult to grow it here, even though we have obviously the greenhouses are to keep the rain off for the majority and to be able to control the heat with the shade cloth. But the lettuce just simply doesn't grow as well over summer. It's much slower. It doesn't get to the same weight because it's just too hot. It's not perfect growing conditions for it. But in winter time, now we see the lettuce is starting to look quite nice quite big again, getting cooler days. It loves cool weather with lots of sunlight. We don't often get the lots of sunlight, but when we do, it does grow really well. So the system basically pumps water 24/7. So we run water all the time. It gets pumped up to the top of the table, runs down the table, comes into the collection point, runs back into the tank. So it's a recirculating system. It's quite efficient. We do empty the tanks every few weeks to totally clean the tanks and put in fresh water to control disease. So disease management in a hydroponic system is probably one of the most important things. Hygiene is very important. So once harvest is finished in the morning, the tables will get completely cleaned. The cups will get taken over there to be emptied, washed, sterilised, dried, and then replanted that afternoon. The same with the tables. They'll come through with a pressure washer and we sterilise with chlorine, and then they'll come again and plant in the afternoon. So it's a very efficient system in that we literally harvest in the morning and replant in the afternoon. So it's no more than a few hours where there's not crop in the gullies. So it's really, really effective. We can produce a lettuce in 6 weeks. In summer they're probably a little bit small at 6 weeks, but the demand is so high we have no choice, we just harvest and people have to put up with it. It's all they can get. But in winter it's very effective. 6 weeks, which is quite quick. It's more quick than in the ground, more faster than the ground. So I don't know what to tell you. Probably our biggest issues in managing the farm, staff can be a challenge just from a quality of staff perspective, speed of work. I definitely have noticed a difference I'm really happy with my team that I have now. I think we've got a good team at the moment, but the seasonal worker program has definitely influenced my ability to find good staff. It's harder to find good staff. A lot of the people who have got good work ethic and really want to work have gone. They're in Australia or New Zealand. So that's a bit of a challenge, but we're not doing too badly. But the other thing is just supply of products. Obviously pretty much everything we need comes from overseas, and shipping is not always reliable. So having to be very organised in our ordering and giving plenty of time. So I get quite upset when my staff tell me that, a bag of something's finished and we have no more, and then I go into agricultural supplies to pick up some more and they say no, they've run out too, and then I have to wait 6 or 8 weeks for it to come. It can cause some pretty big dramas sometimes. So it does happen. I'd like to say I'm very good at organising things, but sometimes we've had a few issues this year. Right now we've got one of our fertilisers that's run short, so we're having to try and make do any way we can, or get someone to bring some over on a plane or something. But things like that's probably one of our biggest challenges. And then obviously just the cost of everything, because we pay retail price in Australia and then you pay shipping and duty and VAT, and you get it here and it's basically double the price as it is in Australia. So that has a huge impact obviously on our cost of production. The cost of production is very high, and the increase in diesel price just recently did not help at all. I mean, here it went up 60% overnight, which is a pretty major jump. And we run 100% on a diesel generator. That's 100% of our power, and we're running pumps 24/7. So that generator runs 24/7. So it's going to be a very significant increase in my cost. So we've just had to increase the price in relation to that. There's no choice, and we were sort of just making it anyway. What else? Yeah. So my background, I grew up in Australia. I grew up on a broadacre cotton grain farm in southern Queensland, but I've lived here for 13 years. I'm now a citizen of Vanuatu, been adopted by a family from the north of Vanuatu, so I'm woman banks, as they would say here. I did an agricultural degree at university. Sort of worked in and around agriculture my whole life, but this was my first time actually running my own farm. It's been a very steep learning curve. Yeah. So I have a fantastic farm manager. He's an Vanuatu, basically no schooling. He can't quite remember whether he finished school in year 1 or year 2, but he's incredibly clever, and he's really passionate about growing lettuce. He's got 25 years of experience growing hydroponic lettuce. So basically since he was a teenager. So and he's amazing. I really honestly couldn't have done it without him. He's been an amazing support, and now we've got to the point where he pretty much runs all of this day to day, and I do all the background business, admin, running around buying things, jobs. So that's been amazing. Just about ready for harvest. So we have what have we got now? We have 6 varieties of lettuce now. This butter lettuce is by far our best performer. One of our biggest challenges here has been finding a variety of lettuce that works really well. We have short days, so sunlight is, I think, it's a big impact here. Not only short days, but the fact that we have a lot of cloud cover because it rains a lot. So and just the heat. So this variety of butter lettuce is by far our best performer. It will do well all year round. Then we have a few other sort of multi-leaf, curly, frilly kind of varieties. We're still trying to find a red variety that will do well. I haven't found one yet that will perform in summer. Winter's not so bad, but summer's hard. Same with the cos. We've got a baby cos that does okay in winter, but in summer it's not so effective. So yeah, varieties are a big challenge. We've tried a lot of different seeds, and we found it really interesting. There's a lot of varieties. A lot of the seed providers will offer us a variety and say, "Oh, this does really well in all our Pacific countries, in all our island countries," but we try it and it doesn't work. So I don't know why, but yeah. But anyway, we do have a few now, which is good. We're growing maybe all the major sort of herbs: basil, coriander, parsleys, dill, we do rocket, silver beet, pak choy, green and white pak choy.